Welcome to Two Chicks and a Horror Flick, a weekly horror movie review podcast. I'm Tawny Ray.
And I'm Felicia Connor. Subscribe to get new episodes every Wednesday. We dive into trivia, drink a little whiskey, and of course, give our no BS opinions.
Join our Discord server or message us on social media to talk all things scary.
And if you like the show, consider supporting us on Patreon.
You can find all these links on our website, twochicksandahorrorflick.com. Thanks for listening.
Now let's get scared.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about the 2022 movie, Speak No Evil. But before we get into all that, Felicia, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a giant thermos of water. I had a couple cappuccinos this morning and thought, you know what? I think I want to drink water. I don't think it's a smart idea to now have some alcohol.
Yeah. Uppers and downers. You don't really want to.
What are you drinking?
Mix them. I have some of that bourbon left over from that fistful of bourbon, I think is what it's called. Yeah. And I just mixed it with some orange Olipop because drinking it straight has been giving me acid reflux. I've been having some acid reflux problems, so it's better to dilute it for now. So,
nice. That sounds good.
It is good. I thought, which one of these is going to be the best to mix with bourbon? And I thought orange. Yeah.
Yeah, because I immediately thought of an old fashioned that has the orange. Nice combo. It's good?
I think it was a good call. Yeah, it's really good. Because the other options were like strawberry vanilla or like grape. Those would have been weird.
Oh, God. If you were like, I'm drinking some bourbon mixed with grape Olipops, I think I might have to excuse myself to vomit. That sounds horrible.
I have been mixing it with just like Perrier, like just sparkling water plain. And that's been pretty good too.
Oh, yeah.
It dilutes it enough to where it doesn't like give me the acid reflux. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, last Friday I was on a Prosecco kick. I love Prosecco. And I started putting berries in it. It's really good. And then you eat the berries. It's nice.
Then you get out of control.
Yeah. Then you think you're eating fruit salad. But those bad boys have been marinating in Prosecco.
You're like, this is healthy, actually.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Look at me, I'm being healthy. I was putting orange juice in it, which is so good. I love that, as you know.
Yeah.
And then transitioned to real fruit and mint, which is also delicious.
Very refreshing. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I bet that was fun. But then I also know that you went to a concert yesterday. Tell us about that.
Oh, I just got cold chills with you saying it. Okay, if anybody is an Elton John fan, pause the episode and go buy tickets to his farewell tour if he hasn't already been in your state. If he has, see how much it costs to travel to a different state to see where he hasn't been. It was fucking epic. Like, it was bucket list level epic.
That's so cool.
It was absolutely beautiful. The imagery, the effects. He sounds like how he sounded when he was a young man. He's 76.
Crazy.
The energy, the way he was playing the piano, everything was like, I don't know. Like he wasn't skipping a beat. And then he would, it wasn't like, oh, I'm coming out playing these songs and thank you and leaving. He would then stop after a song and go tell a story and like talk to us all. Like we're just sitting there chatting with Elton John. It was insane. And I'm so happy I got to experience it with my older girls and Steve. We went and we really felt like we were a part of something incredibly special. And so if you are an Elton John fan, I highly, highly recommend going to see this concert if you were even considering it. Me and Steve said if we had just a shit ton of money, we would buy tickets to his actual final show, because this is his final tour, which is in Sweden. We would book tickets to go see it again in Sweden. That is how amazing it was. And also, if you do plan on seeing it, or you're gonna see it now, definitely stay till the end. I feel bad. Hello, everybody in Arizona who saw it last night and left early because either you thought it was over, even though the lights weren't on, or you wanted to miss traffic. You missed the most. He ended it with some amazing songs. I won't spoil alert. And the most emotional, beautiful exit and ending to the concert, but I don't
okay.
want to ruin it for anybody. So I'm just saying, everyone's like, oh, let's beat traffic. Oh my God, stay in some fucking traffic. It's worth it. And we're those type of people. Like if we're at a sporting event, we'll leave a little bit early. But just don't.
This is a little fucking different, dude. Just a little.
Don't. He was talking to people in the audience. People were decked out in like his sequenced Dodger uniform and like glitter.
Oh, nice.
I felt like, oh man, I wish I was wearing like a sequenced glittery jumpsuit. I was like,
yeah.
But anyway, amazing. I'll post some pictures on our Instagram, and then I'll post more though on mine, Felicia Dawn at Felicia Dawn Connor. Post some pictures. One of my daughters dressed up just like Elton John. I don't know if you saw her with the big glasses.
I did. Yeah.
It was really fun. Thanks for letting me gush about that.
Yeah, that's really like, how are you going to spend the money and the time and go to the tour and then be like, unless you're having some kind of a medical emergency or something, like, or somebody else is having an emergency and you gotta go. Like, how are you gonna not see that through to the end? That's fucking crazy to me.
Oh, I felt really bad. There's a lady in front of me who was, once the concert started, you could tell that maybe she was up at one of the restaurants drinking a lot. She was drunk. And you could tell just how she was talking to everybody. 2 songs in, she sat down. She was right in front of me, like in her chair real hard, and was kind of sitting there. And I was like, uh-oh. Then her husband took her away. Then like, gosh, I don't know, maybe 30, 45 minutes, an hour later, she came back and was telling the guy in front of me that she had to go vomit and she had a bag now in case she needs to vomit again.
Oh, no.
I think stayed for 2 more songs and then they had to go.
Yeah.
I was like, and this is it. You better travel to the next location because you're going to miss it.
That sucks.
My friend, Natasha from Natasha Dresser PR, just so you guys know, because I didn't know that this was a thing, Disney is streaming it. So if you can't make it to the venue, I guess you can stream it. She lives in California. I don't know if it's like by location. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think it would be by location, but don't miss it. I think it would be a great, I mean, if you could be there in person, that's amazing. But if you could stream it, that would be great too. I remember I cried during the Super Bowl when Dre and Eminem and Snoop.
Yeah.
So I think that would be fine to do too.
Yeah. That's cool. That sounds fucking awesome.
It really was. It was awesome. Thanks for letting me gush.
And now you get to be like, I fucking went to that.
Yeah.
I went to the farewell tour. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I hope I didn't irritate people behind me because I was watching with my eyes, but also recording right over here, but trying not to get in anyone's way because I knew this was a major experience for everyone. But it was just like everything. I had this like excitement and panic. Like, I want to remember this forever.
Yeah.
So I tried to capture as much as I could. And I'll share some of that without any spoiler alerts, of course, on social media.
Okay. All right. Fun.
Yes.
Well, what have you been watching?
Yes. So the only main thing that I want to spend a moment sharing is, and it's not even a long moment, The Innocents. Is that on Apple?
Shudder.
Okay. Awesome. And thank you, Kara, I believe is the one that told us to watch it, for recommending something on Shudder. I appreciate that. I loved it. I don't even know how to explain it. It was so beautiful, dark, and beautiful. Just the way they filmed everything, and those children, the acting, the story. You know, it is not like gory and, well, there are some dark parts, but it wasn't full of like what we're used to, I guess.
Right.
I mean, definitely you're going to see some violence and some, dark things, but not what we're used to as far as gore all over the place. But I was terrified. I was terrified at the thought of this possibility, and especially within kids who are just do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah. And they don't have this type of logical control, not that adults do. But anyway, I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend it to anyone. Just know you have to read it because it's in a different language, which is fine. But when I started it, I was really tired. So I had to pause it and then watch it the next day when I felt better. And it's a very slow burn. So it's not super action-packed at all. But it was, and I won't say anything, but the end, just this, like, it was just this experience. I don't even know how to explain it. That wasn't like super gigantic. It was just beautiful. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. I wonder if we should do an episode on it.
I would love to.
I think it falls. It was so that you're saying the experience of watching it was so, because I also watch this, is so there's so much dread and anxiety. Like I immediately in the first like 7 minutes of the movie was like, I don't know. Why did I do this to myself? Like I was like, this sucks. I feel like I already know where we're going and I am not excited to watch it. But I think it's really effective. If you can make somebody feel that way, like through an entire, how long is it? Probably an hour and a half, almost maybe 2 hours.
It was almost 2 hours. Yeah.
And like to sustain that feeling of like just total anxiety and dread. Oh, it was great. I agree. I really, really enjoyed it. And I am also grateful for Kara for recommending this. And then I recommended this movie, Speak No Evil, to her because Kara was saying, she was like, disturbing movies are the best like subgenre of horror. And I was like, I think I agree with that. And have you seen Speak No Evil? So we'll get into that conversation in a minute. But yeah.
What about you? Oh,
shit. I've been watching some shit, dude. I've been trying to catch up, okay, on the 2022 horror movies. So let me find my list. The Innocents I watched. I watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Watcher. Terrifier 2. Crimes of the Future. Those are all the 2022 horror movies. The one that I feel like I just want to say is Crimes of the Future was so fucking bad. Just nobody even try to watch it. Just, you know, I'm just saving you the time. Unless you're like an insane David Cronenberg fan. I don't know, dude. I went and looked at the ratings and it had like an 80% of Google users like this movie. So that's like an audience score, I'm pretty sure. And I just can't wrap my head around it. It was painful. Jade fell asleep. I picked that movie. I'm always picking movies that are bad. And he fell asleep and was like, what the fuck am I watching? And I was like, I don't know. And then I just felt like I really had to see it through. So I did it. And it was ridiculous. That was the first David Cronenberg movie I've seen. And I'm mad that that was the first one that I saw. Anyway, and then I just want to also say about Terrifier 2. I really didn't like the first one. So I was like not excited to watch the second one. I liked the second one better.
Okay. So, I haven't seen either.
Yeah.
So I should. I know a lot of people. I don't know.
I don't know if you need to.
Did we talk about that? Because I watched Watcher as well. Just to clarify, everybody, The Watcher is the series.
Right.
Watcher is the movie. I really did. How'd you feel about that? Are we going to?
I don't know. I don't know if we
do an episode on it.
I liked it. I went in with such low expectations because from the preview and everything, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. And then I talked to Michael from We Love Horror and he was like, I was watching this movie and I thought, I don't know if Tawny's going to like this. So I don't know. I think thrillers are not for me. That's what I've come to realize semi-recently. It was all right though, and so I went in with those really low expectations. I was like, I feel like I'm not going to like this. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be exactly what I expect it to be. But it kind of wasn't because I was expecting something different.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, like I liked it. How did you feel about it?
I liked it too. I liked it. I thought there was a slow burn. I was enjoying it. The ending makes it, in my opinion, well, at least I thought they did I won't give anything away, don't worry, a good job depicting that. It made me scared when the ending happened. I don't know about the ending, but the ending right before the ending.
Okay.
But I liked it. I didn't feel like it was a waste of time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, all right, that was.
I don't know if I'd go watch it again, but if someone was over and they were like, hey, I really wanted to see this, I'd watch it with them again. But it wouldn't I wouldn't go, oh my gosh, everybody, let's like I did The Witch. Hey, everybody, we got to watch The Witch again and again.
Yeah. You need to see this. Yeah, totally. Yes. Anyway, so I have a few more on my list that I want to tick off because we'll be doing some end of year roundup episodes. So it's like, I feel like I'm just like cramming them into these like last couple weekends. and we'll continue doing that. But anyway, that's the update for me.
Yeah, I feel like for these couple of episodes we're doing with other peeps on the movies, I'm going to see what their list is and watch. I'm definitely not going to be someone to add to the list because I just haven't watched enough. So I'm going to get caught up on some of the ones that other people suggested, unless there's something I've seen that wasn't, mentioned. I'll throw it in there. But I think almost everything that I've seen so far has been mentioned.
Yeah, is already on the list. Yeah.
That might not even be how it works. I didn't, sorry, all the people that were going to be on their podcast. I haven't looked at the thing yet for the awards, but I will.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get there. Oh, and just want to also shout out that if you haven't listened to our last episode with BBK, we did Near Dark with them. It was super fun. Mm-hmm. And it's an episode that you definitely don't have to watch the movie to have to listen to the episode. So definitely recommend that.
Yes. That was so much fun. I loved that.
All right. Are we ready to get into this movie?
I'm ready.
Okay. So we're talking about Speak No Evil from 2022. The director is Christian Tafdrup, who is he's a Danish actor and film director and screenwriter. So most of the time I think he's an actor. But he wrote this with his brother, co-wrote it. And this is a psychological horror thriller film. This also debuted. I don't know if it debuted, but it was at Sundance in January of 2022. And the film rights were acquired by Shudder, I think even before Sundance, which is kind of crazy. And just another note, because I kind of linked this in my head. I was like, oh, Sundance, the movie that Justin edited, God's Country, also went to Sundance in January. And I feel like all the movies that were put up in January probably had pandemic issues. And so this was like that too, because God's Country had the same problem. They started shooting it and had to wait to finish it. So it was a very long process. The same thing happened here for Speak No Evil. It was 7 weeks of shooting over 12 months. So they weren't even sure if they were going to get to finish it, which I'm sure is a shitty way to feel in the middle of making a movie. Okay. So for cast, I'm just going to totally butcher these names. I'm sorry. We have Morten Burian, who plays Bjørn. Sidsel Siem Koch, who plays Luis. Vedha Van Hewitt plays Patrick. Karina Smulders is Karen. Leva Forsberg plays Agnes, or Aunes. I really listen to that every time they said it. I'm going to say Agnes.
Say Agnes, but me too. Every time it really stuck out to me. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's how you actually say that. Okay. And then we have Marius Damslev as Abel, or Abel. Okay, so for ratings, we got 6.6 out of 10 for IMDb, 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 3.3 out of 5 for Letterboxd. And then as far as production costs, this hurts. If they're estimated to be 2.8 million euros, which is 2.9 million in US dollars, and the box office was $370,000.
Dude, that's less than a house cost.
Yeah, that's so low. That sucks, dude. So, yeah, there we are. And I'm noticing in this moment, I totally forgot to write my 2 minutes with Tawny.
Oh, snap.
Oh.
Do you want me to read the Wikipedia?
Maybe. It's kind of long. It's not as long as some others, though.
Or what about IMDb? What's their
synopsis?
Yeah, let's see. What's it called? Speak. No.
Sometimes I just spend so much time doing other things in the research that I just forget entirely.
Oh, for sure. It's only a sentence. A Danish family visits a Dutch family they met on holiday. What was supposed to be an idyllic weekend slowly starts unraveling as the Danes try to stay polite in the face of unpleasantness. Oh, that's the understatement of the world. No, I guess not. It was kind of unpleasant until it got
real
bad. Yeah, real unpleasant.
Yeah, so we're about to spoil the shit out of this movie. Turn back now if you haven't seen it. But I also think it's worth mentioning, we're going off book here. This is not in the synopsis, but what you should know about this movie is that it is uncomfortable. And then these people realize that these people that they've gone to visit have been kidnapping children from other people's families, and they are going to kidnap their daughter, which they do ultimately do, and cut her tongue out. And then they stone the parents to death. The end. That's the fucking end of the movie. So
Yep.
There's your quick spoiled synopsis.
Yeah, that's really true. There's uneasiness, unpleasantness, some inconsiderateness, and then that shit happens. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So, Felicia, let's start with you because I'm the one who watched this first and was like, we need to fucking watch and talk about this movie, and I'm scared of your reaction. Tell me how you feel about this movie.
Okay. So I'm hoping you'll help out because I fucking hated this movie, but it's hard. I didn't hate it because it was bad, but when the movie ended, that was the feeling I was left with. I hated it. I said, I watched it with my oldest and I apologized. Because I think the last thing she watched with me was fucking Requiem for a Dream. And poor thing is never going to watch anything with me.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and she was like, she hated that, what happened as well. And I looked at her and I'm like, I'm giving this movie a 0. This is how I felt. This was my reaction to it. So if we would have recorded the next day, that would have been how I came at it. But there were things I liked. I honestly liked the whole beginning. I thought I was in it. I was like, what the hell is going on? Ooh, these people are weird. I liked how things were going on. And it was understandable why they stayed. I mean, all of us watching might be like, fuck that, I'm out of here. And a couple times, like the mom was like, fuck that, we're out of here. And they actually left. And when that little girl thought she lost her bunny and they went back, I know a lot of people might be like, fuck the bunny. I'm telling you, TT has a Snuggle Blue. And we have traveled back to grandparents' houses or back to find that Snuggle Blue. So, you know, I understand. And I liked that. I liked it that it wasn't so unbelievable of why they were staying. And there's that whole cultural thing too. Like, we don't want to offend people. Fuck it, offend people, you know, but we don't have that within us. And then we'll get into it. Then for me, it just turned so, I ended up hating because of these big aspects of it. I don't know if we want to talk about it later so I could hear how you felt about it. That really bothered me on a tremendous level. And I think also, last thing I'll say is this is my biggest fear.
Right.
And so it's good the way they made me feel, but it also, it like I'm feeling that in my chest. Like it also how it ended and certain decisions of the parents made me fucking hate it. So yeah. How about you?
Okay.
I don't know if I get into that because I know I'm being cryptic, but it was like, it's my biggest thing about the movie. So I don't know if I share it now or let you tell us how you feel.
Okay, we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
First, I want to respond because I also thought this is Felicia's worst nightmare. Like, and she must watch this movie. And like, we've talked about this kind of stuff before where it's like, you kind of go along with it, you know, like, cause you're like uncomfortable, but you're like, okay, sure. You know, again, like you said, you don't really want to offend people. You're like, am I being ridiculous? Whatever. And then the ultimate goal of these people is to take and harm their child. And I was like, this is like, Felicia's gonna love this movie is what I thought. I thought Felicia's gonna fucking love this because it's like right up her like fear alley, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But then I did see you made one comment. The thing is, Felicia, you're making comments all the time, but I kind of know if you make a comment, I kind of know sometimes what you mean by it. So she made a comment in a group chat that we're in. She said, I can't talk about how I feel about this movie because Tawny's in this group chat. So she said, I have some thoughts. I have some feelings or something. And I was like, oh no, she hated it. So that was my inkling into you really disliking this movie. I'm also hoping that I turn this around for you because I think it's a really powerful movie. And I really liked it. Like, I was like, oh my God, it really stuck with me. And Jade was like sitting in the room. This is one of those where like he didn't plan to watch this movie with me, but he was sitting in the room when I started it. And he fucking stayed till the end and he was like, Jesus Christ, that was a fucking experience. And so both of us really enjoyed it from that perspective because it was like fucking real life scary. You know, we talk about this all the time. Like, there was no supernatural shit going on.
Nope.
This was just people being fucking bad. And oh my God, it was scary.
The ultimate terrifying. Absolute ultimate terrifying. We've talked about this before where if you are someone who doesn't have children, right, and you're in a situation and really you just have to save yourself and the situation is still scary, but you feel a little bit more in control in the sense that you just really need to save yourself. Now you have little people who are looking at you like, you will protect me. You will save me. But guess what? You're still the same person with the same ability. And now you have to try to protect someone else and you just might not be able to. And I think that's one of the scariest things about being a parent is that I've had nightmares about that of having to protect my children and not being able to because I'm just a human. So depending on what it is, I mean, my abilities go so far, even though I would fight, tooth and nail, but absolute horrendously terrifying, this movie.
Yeah. So let's just start where you wanted to go is like your biggest problem. And
okay. Yeah. So my biggest problem my biggest problem is, so when we discovered, I think I was still on board when we discovered that these people are serial killers. They're either getting off on, torturing the child is part of it, right? Because they're not nice to Abel, but also having parents in this situation of desperation and fear, and they obviously get off on this, and so they're serial killers. And you see all the suitcases and all the pictures, and that was like, I was like, oh my God! And then they find Abel and he's drowned, so for a fact that the little girl's next, and you're so terrified. So then the dad goes inside the house and's like, wake up, we need to go, and gets everyone in the car. So the first thing that really bothered me was all of the sudden, the mom, Louise, has just taken a fucking 180 and doesn't give a shit. This was so what really bothered me, and I'm getting all riled up now, is how unrealistic the acting turned for the parents in the end when for the whole time I was on board. I know the dad was kind of enamored with this free-spirited husband when he's feeling bored in his life. Got it. Louise, I loved it when she was like, stop telling my daughter what to do. Like, she was saying all the stuff that I'd want to say as a mom, or taking them in the middle of the night. Everything was believable. Now, all of a sudden, she's like, okay, let's get in the car. And she's dozing off in the back. She's not, are you kidding me? I'd be like, what happened? Why are you?
Totally.
And then he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything about what the fuck is going on. So, of course, when he drives off, first of all, you drive off the road so far into this field. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get back onto the road, whatever. And then he's like, oh, I see a house. I'm going to go there. He doesn't tell them anything. So they don't know that they need to be scared.
Right.
So then, of course, when the guy comes and because he's following them and picks up Louise and the daughter, they go with him. But then even that, like, they just didn't care. They were so nonchalant. And then she's in the car and she's like, oh, thanks for picking me up. Not even, it just totally oblivious. It was not realistic to who this character was. And then the dad gets in the car and I understand why he did. Even though I feel like I would scream something but whatever. So he gets in the car and they're driving, right? And he's not saying anything. I get it. He's scared that they're going to do something. So now we get to the part I did say to my daughter. I looked at her and I said, if they cut that little girl's tongue out, I will fucking give this movie a 0. This is just like, I don't want this. This is just fucking disgusting. So I don't think necessarily, because I've seen things that ended very disturbingly, did not end in a happy note. So I'm fine with that. God, I'm so mad right now. When this guy comes, which was terrifying, now the babysitter, in quotes, is helping with this human trafficking situation. It's terrifying. So he comes, I'm like, oh my God, I could just feel. So the one piece I liked that's making me kind of hang on to this, which can make me cry thinking about it now, was the mom realizes that they're going to do something to their daughter. Right. Shaking and her pulling her onto her lap, like almost trying to get her as close as possible. That was so realistic and beautifully done. That was terrifying. But then the man is holding her back, right? The babysitter guy's holding her back. And she's screaming while and I know the dad tried to stop and the dude's just beating the shit out of him. So they cut off the girl's tongue. Like everything went dark for me. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? The mom is not, what happened to your legs, bitch? I would be as a mother, I would be kicking that woman in the face. The fucking woman was not intimidating. So far, no one had weapons, my friends. That we know of, no one had them. Why isn't she kicking? Maybe the man was very strong at holding her back. Okay. Why wasn't she fucking nailing that woman in the face with her shoes? Why wasn't she... Where was the real fight to protect your kid that they are cutting her tongue out? And then they drag the kid out. This just, if I saw the actors, I'd spit in their face, even though this wasn't their direction. So I wouldn't really, but they take the child.
Hopefully not.
No, I would never. But they take the child and she's pounding on the window because she can't unlock it. Then she sits there crying and punching the seat. I'm going to tell you right now, I swear to God, I know I would do this. I would launch at that woman. I would bite her fucking nose off. I would do whatever. I'm not even joking. I would. Yeah, absolutely would. I would do anything to get that car to swerve off the road so I was not that far away from who just took my child. If my child was dead, I understand giving up on all life in that situation. But she was very much alive. Very much alive and still needs to be rescued. And she just sits in the back seat and cries. The little blonde woman just sitting there with a smug look on her face. Why aren't you hitting her? Why aren't you ripping out her hair? Why aren't you biting the jugular out of her throat? Why aren't you punching the guy from the back seat in his face so he drives off? Then, oh, well, fuck it. Our daughters are on their own. They drive to this quarry and now I'm almost done. They walk out, all life is over. They strip naked. They walk down and they get stoned to death. Fuck you, you deserved it. That's how I felt. I did not feel bad for these parents when they were getting stoned to death because I was so disgusted that the lack of them really fighting to the end, really fighting until they were literally incapacitated to do so to save their child. The only thing that helped us sleep at night was me and my daughter made up a whole story about that little girl. Because at the end, you see her, they're going to another family vacation. She's in the back seat. That she's smart and she's old enough that either she kills them in her sleep and then tells her story and then learns sign language and then makes millions of dollars sharing her story with the world. Yeah. Or maybe at this new family vacation, because she can write, she's old enough. She goes to somebody and tells them what happened.
Gets help. Yeah.
And these people get discovered. That's the only thing that helped me settle down enough to go to sleep. So that is how I feel about that.
That's the extended version of how you feel about this movie.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I mean, listen, I don't know if I'm going to convince you otherwise. I have some stuff that I think might move the needle a little bit. I don't know how much it's going to move, though. So I'm not setting myself up for disappointment there. I agree completely. There were two moments for me where I thought, what in the fuck are you doing? I would never do this. But I do think the movie does a very good job of balancing. Like, I would say like 98% of the other times, you're like, yeah, I get this, you know?
Yeah.
So the first one for me is the babysitter. So they're going to dinner. They're like, okay, nobody said that there was like a no kids allowed policy for this dinner. They're like, we're going to dinner. So everybody's getting ready and they go to leave. And suddenly this guy shows up and they're like, she's like, who is this guy? And they're like, oh, he's the babysitter. He's going to babysit. And they were like, oh, the kids aren't coming? They were like, no, this guy babysits all the kids in the neighborhood and he's great with kids. And I like Jade and I both were like, abso-fucking-lutely not. Like, no. Abso-fucking-lutely not. I would be like, you know what? Go ahead without me. I'll stay here. Like, I don't want to ruin the dinner plans entirely. I'll just stay here. You can go. Muhadid can go home. I'm cool, whatever. Like, although I will say I rewatched it today, and rewatching that scene, I thought, maybe I fucking wouldn't, dude. Maybe I wouldn't. Because this is a grown adult man, and you do not want to be an asshole. Like, that's kind of sexist to be like, this adult man can't babysit. Why? Like, oh, if he's a known babysitter,
Yeah.
Or like a racial thing. Like, I don't know, like, you don't want to be racist either. Like, or have it even be taken that way. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're like, because the bottom line is, you don't want your kids to be watched by someone you don't know at all. Like, you don't even, I mean, I don't have kids, but I'm just guessing. If you're a person with kids, you have a bunch of people you fucking know that you don't want watching your kids, okay? Like, there's probably a very tiny short list, You got like 2 or 3 people in your life that you know of that you're good watching your kids, right? And they're probably mostly in your family, okay? This is the problem. But if it could be, like, received in any other kind of way, you don't want to be a fucking asshole. So you're like, oh, I don't know. Okay, I guess. Like, you're like, these people trust this guy. He's obviously watched their kid before, whatever. But that, I will say, that was the first moment for me on first watch that I was like, absolutely no way. I'd be like, no.
No. See, and I think I agree with you. I agree both points. For me, I'm protective in that way. I'm not shy about it. And I would be like you, and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that. And I don't care what anybody thinks about it, because I am just so paranoid about something happening to my children that, especially in this situation, I mean, if I was with you and Jade, that's a different story. And you were like, oh, no, no. Right. We know this person babysits our child all the time. I would be more likely, even though I didn't know that person because I know you guys so well, but I don't even know these people really. Right. And now they want me to leave my daughter, with this man. I understand both men and women can be predators. I totally get that. But I'm just saying, especially with things I've experienced, that would make me scared. And I would say, no, I want to bring her, but that's me and my experiences or you. I think 90% of, I don't know if it's 90%. I'm really extra with percentages, but I think at least half of parents out there would say exactly what you did. Like, I don't want to cause a problem. They know, okay, let's go. And how many parents want to have a date night, without any kids? So that was realistic enough, even though I wouldn't do it. Totally.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that was the first one for me. Second one for me, same. In the car, they're trying to take her. I'm like, now we've hit the moment where this is fight for your life. You're gonna die, trying to save your child. So I also was like, God, they really aren't fighting as hard as I would think that I would be in this moment. Now you're like, it's kill or be killed. This is when you realize, oh fuck, this is time to pull that trigger, the ripcord. Like, you do anything in your fucking power, right? But what I kind of liked about this scenario, and I didn't get as far to rewatch this, so I might be misremembering, correct me if I'm wrong. But by this point, though, they are outnumbered. They've got the third guy there. So I felt like, okay, I could see how this would be. I would still, again, fight tooth and nail to fucking try to do anything I could to improve the situation for us, our family. But I kind of get how now there's like an extra person, and so now it's even scarier. Like, before, you might have been able to take them. You know, you're like 2v2 on the parents, you know, like it might have been okay, but now you got a third person in the mix and that's fucking bad for you, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think I, I do see the outnumbered feeling, but I think how they were in a car. The guy, the third guy is only has his arms around the mom who is not fully outside of the car.
Yeah.
How about, I know the one dad punched the crap out of, you know, the other dad, but now he's fully focused on holding down that little girl to cut her tongue out. And the dad is just sitting there like, oh my God, fucking keep going. Keep going,
Right.
keep going. And then the mom, yeah, they're holding her, but what about her legs? I mean, it's not about you anymore. It's about your baby when they're taking and, you know, whatever they're doing, kick, fight. Like she was only going with her arms, like what about the rest of you? And then again, when she's sitting in there at this point, there's been no weapons but a pair of rusty old scissors that was used, you know, to cut out a tongue. So why aren't you beating the shit out of these people? The one guy's driving, his hands are occupied. The other woman's just sitting there smug looking out the window. Why isn't anybody fighting these people?
Doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy just took your daughter. They cut out her tongue and took her, and she's alive.
Yeah.
And she's waiting for you to help her.
So this is another moment where it kind of switched for me. And I think why I really liked it is because, you know, again, we talk about this a lot. And I'm a person who I think if I were, you never know, but I think if I were in a situation like this, or if it was like life or death, I'm probably going to placate or comply as long as I feel like I need to see an opening to, you know, get the upper hand. Right. And I feel like that's a lot of what this movie is. Like, at least once shit gets real for this family, right? They kind of like don't know exactly, but they're like waiting and waiting and waiting, and they wait too fucking long. Yeah. And they die. Like, so after they take the daughter, I also agree, like, it's weird for them to not fight back, but I kind of get how they are. Like, I think in this moment, my mindset flipped again, and I was like, okay, now would be like, I can't think about, like, we're gonna handle finding my daughter later. Right now, we just have to get the upper hand on these fucking people. So, like, I don't want to crash the car because I don't want to injure myself. Like, I just want to let this play out and comply long enough to see what I can do. So I understood this from that perspective. It's like, eventually we're going to stop this car. And at that point, I'm going to see what I can do. You know, like...
But they didn't. They didn't do anything.
No, they didn't do it. You're right. They didn't do anything. So that we get to this point. But again, like, I kept like waiting and waiting. And it wasn't until they started taking off their clothes. Like, they were like, you know, I don't remember what they said exactly, but they're basically like, take off your clothes.
And they just did it. Like,
and they start stripping down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. Like, this is where I was like, this is finally where I was like, oh no, they're not going to be able to do anything. You know, like, I kept thinking, you get out of the car. Now you're not in the car and you can wrestle these people or try to get a weapon. I don't know. But I think that's why I liked it, is because it's like, if you wait too long, you know, like, you're fucked. And I don't think I've ever seen that, like, portrayed in that good of a way, other than in this movie. Like, I feel like there's always like this little thread of hope right up until that moment. And then I was like, oh no, they are fucked. And then they start getting hit by the rocks because they're getting stoned to death. And I was like, oh my fucking God, it's so bleak and terrible. It's like the worst, terrible, visceral way to die. It takes so long. Oh, it's painful to watch. And so I feel like I had the same frustrations as you, but I ended up being like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I have some stuff from the director that I think may help, you know, kind of shift the perspective on that a little bit.
Okay. Because I totally see what you're saying. For me, it just looked like they gave up. And they did. Because even when they got out, why didn't they continue to fight? Again, we see no weapons with these people. So why they just walked, You could just tell the mom just walked. They're like, take off your clothes. She was like, fuck it, took off her clothes, walked down. There was nothing. Why? Why weren't you trying to fight these people at all? I think as a parent, yeah, I could see what you're saying of like, we need to try to get the upper hand. But I think that how they acted the rest of the time was almost like they took her and we're fucked. But were they? There was no guns to their head or anything. Were they? Why didn't they try to run? Why didn't they try to fight back at all?
Okay, so this is what the director said about this movie. He thought of it more like a Greek drama or an opera. Like, he says that a lot during the conversation. Like, I watched a couple interviews with him, and he said, this is a quote, "It's a fable, it's not one-to-one realism." So, yeah, this shifted my thinking on it, and I was like, okay, I get that. Here's another thing that really kind of like changed how I thought about it, because after I watched the movie, I was like, I saw like a preview of it or something, like just when I was looking back at it on Shudder, and it shows, you know, like the quotes that people give it, you know, that give reviews and stuff. And I saw 2 quotes that called it a satire. And like, I fully didn't know what a satire is, and I still don't know. But I looked up the definition so that we could kind of talk about it for this movie. And I don't know, I really should have done this research, I'm sorry, but I should have looked up to see if we've watched any other movies that are considered satire. Because there's like a difference between satire and parody. So satire is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. So all of this made me feel very differently about this movie. Like, oh, this movie is not like he said, it's not a one-to-one realism. It's like a fable. It's this kind of old world story meant to illustrate something that is the ultimate message that this guy is trying to get across, you know?
Yes. Okay. So first, if I think of it like a theater, like a Shakespearean drama or a Greek drama, that sparked something where I was like, oh, okay. If I looked at it that lens, the satire, I just need to understand it more. Because I did, when you said that, I looked up satire movies, popular ones. The Hunt, Don't Look Up. I Care a Lot. Trying to think of dark satires.
Yeah,
These, though, there were definite funny moments where I didn't feel there was American Psycho.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like there was not one funny thing in this.
Yeah.
I don't feel like one point of it did I giggle or think it was funny.
I thought some moments were kind of funny, but they were like very, very teeny tiny comical moments. Like for me, the moment that I thought maybe was the most funny. I mean, it's on one hand you have like the awkwardness, the comedy of awkwardness, like right where people say or do things, and you're kind of like, you know, it's so awkward that you can't help but kind of like, okay, you know. But then when they go out to the quarry and they scream a bunch, you know, you remember the scene?
Yeah.
And then the next scene is them back at the house and they're just like running around like little boys, like in their like swimsuits, like running to the pool. And they're like, yeah, like having just such a good time. This made me laugh because I was like, this is such a like, you know, 180 that this guy just went and screamed it out at like a quarry and now he's like unleashed. He's like a kid, he can play again, you know? Like, I don't know. That part was like, but I definitely agree that there's way less moments of comedy, and I don't think it's intended to be like a very funny movie.
Yeah,
you know?
because that quarry, it, you know, was that supposed to be satire or funny at all? Because at the end, what you realize is they're fucked because they can't scream because we already have been there.
Oh,
and the main thing,
I didn't even pick up on that, dude.
Yeah, when they were screaming, you couldn't hear it.
Yeah, oh shit.
Now they're back, you know, there's nowhere to go. There's no one's going to hear him scream.
Oh man, that really adds to the dread of those characters. I didn't even consider that. Because he knows. Yeah, he knows he's been there.
Yeah, she might not know, but she's already totally traumatized and given up on everything because of what happened. And he knows.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So here's some other stuff. I'm
sold on this Greek theater tragedy sort of situation, though.
Yeah, like I think when you don't take this movie as literally, you know, like it basically is like, and he even says, "Why are you doing this?" And he says, "Because you let me." Right? Am I fucking up that quote?
No, because you let me. Yeah, because there was no one held them there. They could have left several times. He could have grabbed the keys out of the car when he went to take a pee.
Yeah, they didn't have to turn around and come back. Like there's ample time to get out. And he says, "You let me." And I think that is the heart of the movie. So he says, like, are we actually, I was listening to an interview and I kind of dictated this. So I think I got the gist, but this is not exactly verbatim. But he said something to the effect of, are we actually permitting evil ourselves because we've never been it before? So we can't even believe it. We often see a very romantic version in America, but most people in real life can't even fight back.
So we have this idea that we would do so much more when really our physical ability may limit us to do what we think we would do in our mind.
Not only that, but what I got from that too is that we can't even fathom the horrific shit that other people are going to do because we are not like that. So even like through the end, you know, you can kind of see like maybe they thought, you know, they were like, oh, they're just going to make us walk out into this quarry alone and desert us here or something.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't even fucking fathom. These people are about to stone me to death. You know, like that is fucking great. Like nobody would do that.
So that makes me buy into what you were saying about let's just play along until we can get away and then go on a mission to find our daughter, which is very possible since they know these people, know where they live. No, they have lots of details to share with the police. Maybe they can go find their daughter. She's alive.
Yeah.
You know, they know that. Okay. Because he does, you're right, after he sees that they're starting to stone them, the mom is definitely just given up. But he starts to try to drag her and get her out of there. Yeah. All right.
He also in the same interview mentioned that the end is poetic because they've never been closer to their human nature. They're naked, they're crying. And this is very different from the earlier conversation where Bjorn is talking about like living his like normal, boring life and how, you know, upsetting it is almost to him that he just like lives day in and day out. I feel like this is kind of a separate theme that I don't know if they were going for this as much or if this is one of those situations where it's like, it was kind of like a happy accident. Because to me, I think the heart of this movie is them just going along, right? And that is summarized in that quote of, because you let me. And I think this, like, there is definitely a secondary theme of, like, human nature versus, like, animalistic, like, primitive nature and how, you know, we're so civilized now. And he talks about that a lot in these interviews. Like, we just live like a very civilized life now, you know, like we're civilized people. We go through life. Like we would never even intend to harm anybody, you know, most people, right? Like you just are a normal person, living life, going to work, whatever. And so I think there's that second theme, but for me, I think that's less interesting and it ties in less. So like, I don't think I took as many notes on that just because I found it not to be the center of this movie.
Yeah, I agree, because when I'm thinking of the animalistic parts, like the bad serial killer couple experienced in, you know, like their not sexuality, but sensuality,
right?
And you know, the screaming and all that, but they're bad. And so I don't like think of it that way because I think that part of us isn't necessarily bad.
Right.
I totally see that's what I thought too through this whole thing is how we allow things to happen to us because of this polite, politically correct, or politically correct might not be the right term, but just like being, not wanting to offend anybody. And even though everything that comes through with your intuition, everybody has your intuition. Everyone gets these weird feelings and then we push it away because we don't want to be rude. We don't, we want to be polite and correct and, pleasing and all of that sort of thing. And that is, I mentioned this in another episode too, that book, The Gift of Fear. That's what predators prey on. And they try to make you feel guilty so that you're like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to be a bitch. I don't want to offend anyone. And so you go along with it despite everything you're feeling. Both of these people felt like things were off the whole time. But they just kept going, I felt bad. And they were able to totally twist it like, what, just because we were kissing and while we were dancing? And then it makes you feel like, no, I guess. And they make you doubt and they play on that and then they take advantage of you.
I love that scene because I think they really do a good job of making you feel like, oh, fuck, maybe these people are just like, these people just now feel awkward because they were, and was any of that really that bad? Not really.
And when she's like, and you were driving drunk, you were all drunk and all of you drove there.
Right.
All of you knew you'd have to get home. I don't think there's any Ubers out there.
Right. Yeah, nobody said anything.
Yeah. And then when the guy was watching the two have sex, the man saw that. She didn't, though.
Right.
So I think she would have been really upset about it. But oh my God, how about the little girl in the bed and they're both naked?
Oh my God, let's not even, hold on.
Put a pin in that. I'm sorry. Okay.
Put a pin in that. We'll come back to it because I just have a couple things on what you just said. So, reviewing the film for IndieWire, Susanna Gruder called it the most cunningly depraved horror film in years that offers a piercing commentary on the ways we accommodate others to the point of self-subjugation. I felt like that really summarized what you were kind of saying there for a minute.
That's perfect and more beautifully said.
And I think another note that I took watching it the second time, those like being predators and watching for things. One of the things that I picked up on this time is when they run into them in the city for the second time and they say, oh, you went back to find her bunny? And he's like, that's so heroic of you. I was like, oh, this is like them being able to tell that this is a good mark, right? Like they can tell that this guy or the family, but it was him who goes back for the bunny is a pushover. Like he's going to be willing to do things that he doesn't want to do just because somebody else asked or said to do it, So I think there was a couple things there. I think that was part of it. And I also think the flattery was the second part because that guy's like, that's very heroic of you. No, I'm being really serious. He's like, well, thanks. He's like very flattered by that. And then that's when they start to have a good interaction when they're on vacation and they're like, oh, these people are right. That's what causes them to then go and visit them later.
The vegetarian thing too.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really wonderful. We should all be like
more
you
like
and
that.
more like you and be vegetarians and care for the earth. And she's like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. The flattery. And so I don't know. I just wanted to hit those couple things while you were talking about them, but
so good.
The last thing that I want to say, just maybe before we move on from this, is there was another quote that he said about like the ending and about the ending. Okay, so again, watching these interviews, they said that at some point they had guns involved, but the director was like, at this point it becomes more of like a crime story. And these naturalistic questions I was not interested in. I was, like a crime situation. He says, I was interested in the allegory and how do normal modern people react to evilness in the world? Are they permitting it themselves? Maybe they are.
I like that.
Okay, I'm done with that. Now let's move on to the child.
I feel like if they had guns, I'm just saying, there is that next level now as a parent. I feel like when there's no weapons, you just fight and fight and fight and fight until, you can't fight anymore because you're trying to protect your child. If there's guns, there's that level of how much do I fight? Because if they shoot me and I'm dead, they could do whatever they want to my child.
Right. Yeah.
So I do think it brings in that next level of realistic if they were to just not kick that woman in the face. I swear to God, I would have left that woman with no nose.
Yeah.
And I would have.
Nose off.
Dude. Yeah. Okay. We've established that. So, oh my God. When she goes and finds her little girl is not in Abel's room and then goes, this is after the night of drinking and all of that in the babysitter camp, goes into the couple's room. They're both naked and drunk and their little girl is sleeping in their bed. I loved that she left because that's how enraged I would have been. I would not, and I'm letting you know, go back for the bunny. Period. We've been there. We've done that. If it's going back to grandma's house, that's one thing. But I would have acted like the mom. But I would have, I know it would be like, we're not going back. Period. Bjorn, you keep going forward. I am divorcing you. Also, through this whole time, I felt like I would get into the car. We would be home, and I'd be like, I'm leaving you. Your fucking childish infatuation with this man that was just like so apologetic. You were not even thinking about us and my worries. You were dismissive of me. He wasn't horrible in the sense that he did let her speak. He didn't but he was just so much more about having his dick out with this other guy and playing like they were in a frat house or whatever. No offense, frat guys, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? Was more important than how she was feeling. I would divorce that bastard. Yeah.
I think there would definitely be some, we're going to work through this or we're not, this is something that we're going to have to talk through and work through or you're fucking, I'm out of here. Because it was time and time again. I mean, the very first time that she brought something up, he was like, I'm sure you'll survive. It's another day and a half. I'd be like, oh, fucking excuse me? I'll be like, you did not just say that to me. Yeah. No way. But I like how there is this dynamic of he wants to stay there. He's into this, dude. He's having a great time. He sees something in this guy and this lifestyle that he wants for himself. So freedom. I bought it. I didn't think it was I didn't think that was unrealistic in any way, but I would also be like, do you think you're saying, fuck you. I'm getting it. I'm going to leave your ass. You want to stay here? Fine. Bye.
Have fun with your orgies, bitch. I'm out. Yeah, 100%. I didn't think it was unrealistic either. I just thought, and there's a lot of people who wouldn't just say we're done. Yeah. I'm just at that point in my life where I feel like I'm fucking done. Something I wanted to mention before, I definitely saw this whole idea of the grass isn't greener as well. So we get stuck in this, I hate my life because, what a miserable life because I just go to work and believe me, I'm speaking for myself in the past when I've experienced just the day job cycle and feeling unmotivated and uninspired. Yeah. You feel like you're lacking and your life is lacking and he's depressed in his life. Well, guess what? I bet he would kill to have another dinner with people that he doesn't like a whole bunch. Right. And to take his kid to ballet. I did like that when he started to panic and he was getting them ready and he was like, honey, telling his daughter, I'll take you to dance. All he wanted was to get back to normalcy at that point. Yeah, yeah. I did like that.
Oh no.
Now you see how much joy actually lives in that normalcy and in that part of your life that you were hating and condemning earlier because you felt bored. Well, now here you go. You would do anything to have it back. I think that too when people pass away, right? That if you're like, I don't want to have to deal with this. But then once that person's gone, you're like, God, I would give anything to have to deal with whatever it was to have that person here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up because I popped in my head.
Yeah, totally. I agree, though, that this moment where they find her in the bed is probably the most uncomfortable. I mean, there's a lot of uncomfortable moments, but this would, I would also be shocked as shit. I'd be out of there. I'd be like, but then later when they come back and they talk to him and they're like, she was calling out for you. And where were you? She didn't, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, fuck, I don't know. Okay, I could see how this is me being overreacting, if I'm in this situation, but.
You know what? I did actually think this through. And if, like, let's say, I mean, they could totally put it that, you know what? I apologize that I wasn't dressed. I was really drunk. We passed out. Your daughter came to our room and was like, can I sleep with you? My mom will let me sleep with her. And just is like, yeah, go ahead. And not really fully thinking about it because you had drank so much. I'm not condoning it, obviously, but I'm saying I could see how the predator would flip it to make me think I was being unreasonable.
Unreasonable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love movies about this exact thing. And we've talked about this. I wish I would have gone back. I wish I would have gone back and seen what movie we were talking about, because I can never remember beyond the last like 2 movies that we've talked about. But like movies about this societal pressure and like the tension between like you're feeling like something isn't right, but you don't want to like overreact and act like a fucking crazy person. So you're like, you know, this dance. I just think it's really realistic. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, because you know who... Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Go.
No, I was just going to say, because you just want to keep everything... You don't want to make any waves. Go ahead.
Yeah, you don't want to seem like you're crazy or unreasonable. They did this, I'm not saying as well, but they did this in Watcher, you know? So anyways, I won't say anything more about that. But yeah...
Oh, it was Haunt. It was Haunt, I think, that we were talking about, maybe.
Oh,
that you were like, oh, maybe, I don't know, but maybe not, I don't know. You know, like there's this push and pull of like, oh, maybe it's gonna be okay.
Yes, they did that really well in Haunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that really well, of where you're watching it and you're alarmed, but then you're like, oh, but maybe there's an explanation for this. Maybe it's okay.
Or maybe I'm overreacting, or...
Yes.
Yeah, totally. And so that's what I liked about this. And I also had another thought about why... I lost it. I don't remember.
How about when they kept feeding her meat?
And
they did a really good job of doing very small things that made you feel very uneasy.
Yes, in a very light way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It wasn't over the top creepy. It was just very light.
This is another thing. Sorry to interrupt you. This is another thing that I like about this, though, because it is a very good illustration, I feel like, of that idea of like you put a frog in water, and if you start boiling slowly, like they don't even realize what's happening. So there's this like escalation of like just small things, very small things. The very first thing that happens is he's like, is this chair taken? You know, by the pool, and he has some stuff on the chair and he's like, oh no, go ahead. Like moves his stuff from the chair. It's like, that is the smallest on the list of things. Like, you're like, sure, I can move my stuff, you know? Yeah. But it's that over and over again where these people are bending over backwards for these other people to come, you know, to not make waves. Because then, it's like the vegetarian thing. And she's like, she doesn't want to be an asshole and be like, I'm a vegetarian, but she just puts it in her mouth anyway. It's like, what?
Yes.
And then it's just, but it's like that, and it just escalates every
the babysitter,
time.
Right?
Yeah.
Like all of these things where you have to question, how far do I want to take this? And at what point am I being unreasonable?
Right.
My advice to everybody in the world is fuck it. Be you, stand up fully for what your intuition is telling you to do. And if whoever you're interacting with doesn't like it, they can exit your life and you move on and find people that understand you. That is what I have learned from all of the true crime and all of the horror movies we've seen. Fuck it. Be you.
Totally.
Protect your own.
Totally. But being confronted with those situations is different. Like, I feel like I've grown up to be a person who tries to be more, I don't know. I have this whole thing about food choices that is like a whole thing. Like, I feel like my family kind of raised me to be like, you just eat whatever the fuck people give you. Like, you just eat it and you just pretend to fucking like it and shut the hell up, you know? So I think my entire life I've been afraid to kind of like say what my dietary stuff is, right? Like now I try not to eat any gluten and I don't really like raw onions. I don't know. The thing is, like, I'm kind of picky, I guess. But I've always kind of, I think, taken that to have a negative connotation. You know, like I've always thought that was like me being spoiled or, you know, picky or whatever. And now as an adult, I'm like, fuck that. That's stupid. Everybody has fucking preferences. Okay. And like, I can just stand up for my thing. But I think there are still moments where I'm confronted in a situation, you know what I mean? Like I can fucking logic that all day long. I'm like, yeah, that's dumb. I'm an adult. I'm fucking 30. You gonna tell me what I'm gonna eat? Hell no. Fuck you. Like I'm gonna just do what I want. I don't care if you're offended. But if I'm at a person's house that I don't really know that well, and they fucking serve me something, and they're like, this is the best, this is my favorite, this is the best part of the meal, you're gonna have to eat it, and it's a thing that I don't want to eat, I'm gonna put that fucking thing in my mouth. You can bet your ass I'm gonna do it because I do not want to offend anybody. So it's like you can think that all day long, I feel like sometimes, and then you're just in the situation and you just go along, you know? And I feel like we're all predisposed to do this. Ugh. Yes.
Yeah, we definitely need to rewire our brains, especially when it comes to our children, and only have their best in mind. Even to things like where you're like, go hug that person, go tell them hi, give them a hug. You know, we need to teach our children, because that's what you do, right? But that you need to teach our children that they have control and protection over their own bodies and things like that. But we are so ingrained that way. When you were talking about food, it made me think when I was studying Buddhism, there is not all, but a lot of Buddhists, especially Buddhist monks, are vegetarians. But I was reading a book a Buddhist monk had written talking about food and trying to be a vegetarian. But if he was to go to someone's house and they were like welcoming him into their home, and they gave him food, he would not reject it, even if it was meat, because this family has worked hard for their money and worked hard to prepare the food. But I think that's back, even back in the day where there wasn't a lot, and especially if families were poor and didn't have a lot of money, what they offered should be received with great reverence as a gift, right? Because that is all they have and they're offering it. Nowadays, that's not that there's people that aren't poor. Maybe when we're in that, but in the situations that you're talking about, I think there's now a responsibility also from the host. Like I know Steve's mom is amazing. She'll be like, if, one of the nieces is vegetarian, if I decide to be vegan for whatever it is, she tries to stay up on it. And if she's having us over for dinner, she always asks us, is there anything, and she makes sure that we don't have it as a host. Yes. But I think that's deep rooted and then carried with us through now. We're doing that when we don't need to. Yeah. Hopefully that made sense. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff that we're doing nowadays that we can let that go. We don't need to do that anymore. There was a purpose for it in the past. And now there's not, and so we can let that go. Yeah. Like if I was going to have you come and stay with us, hopefully one day you do, I would find out everything about you and Jade. What are your favorite snacks? What are the things you like to have? What are the things you don't? And we absolutely would not make something or if you were vegan and Jade loved meat, we would make sure we had really yummy vegan options for you. Yeah.
That's so gracious. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. You're right. It has kind of flipped a little bit. Yeah. Because as a host, you are like, oh, yeah, what do I do? How do I make sure people are covered? So,
yeah, how horrible that person was just disrespecting them so much too. Someone who is vegetarian, forcing them to eat meat. Like, not because he knew it. Oh, he said he forgot, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And it has been like a few months, which is why I totally bought that.
But she did say, oh, no, thank you. I don't know if you remember, I'm a vegetarian. She didn't say that. Yeah, she did say.
In the first thing, she doesn't. She only says it, I'm pretty sure, because I rewatched that scene today. Okay. And I'm pretty sure she only says it when they're at the restaurant.
So she should have said, oh, I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a vegetarian. Yeah, totally. But again, that's one of those situations where it's like you as an adult, you feel like I would say that. But then because he is saying, this is my favorite part of the roast. It's the best part. And she's like, oh, okay.
And then her husband's like, just try a bite.
Yeah.
What a
again,
jerk.
You and me, I'd be like, I'd give him a look.
Yeah.
We're talking about this later.
This is what I would expect from you, Mr. Husband, is to say, oh, I don't know if you remember, but she's a vegetarian. You know?
Totally.
Just have a bite and stop making a fucking scene.
Yeah.
Oh, you are going to need to find a new home when we get back.
I hope you like the fucking couch, bro.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Okay, so I just have a few more things about like the ending and the idea for the movie as a whole. So first thing is Christian got the idea from the movie from his own experience while on holiday in Tuscany, where his family met a friendly but somewhat socially awkward couple from the Netherlands. They got on very well, and the two families spent a lot of time together. When Tafdrup went home again, he got an invitation from the Dutch family to stay over in the Netherlands. Tafdrup briefly considered the offer, but decided not to take it since he felt like it would be odd to stay at people's house who he didn't know. He never met them again, but couldn't stop thinking about what could have happened had he accepted, and some of his darkest ideas became the basis for the screenplay. Tafdrup stresses that the movie is no more than a dark fantasy and that the Dutch couple from his own holiday were undoubtedly fine people.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love that. I'd love to hear how people's creative ideas got sparked.
Yeah, come up. Totally.
I love that.
Okay, so this is what he said about the end. He said the original ending featured other people being executed all in different ways. There would be 30 people from other houses who also had guests they planned to be executed like a sect. Due to complications of filming so many extras and wanting to simplify the plot, the ending was changed a week before with only the couple being executed.
So does he mean this is happening all over with different people are killing people, and is this like a trafficking ring?
I don't know anything beyond that because he didn't talk about it in any of the interviews that I watched, but I kind of took it to mean like a cult thing, you know, like I don't know why, but I thought maybe they all live next to each other because that guy comes over, you know, and he seems like he's close.
Yeah, what does he get out of it? Does he get paid? Or does he get like, you know, all the valuables from the people? Yeah, I can see that without it getting too culty, because that could be just bizarre, where this was scary that it was serial killing couple.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, it felt isolated, random. Mm-hmm. You know, I agree. He also said, I also read that several auditioning actors and even some of the director's Danish colleagues asked him if he couldn't rewrite the finale of the script or at least give the murderous Dutch couple some motivation for their gruesome actions. Tafdrup tried to write a few alternate endings, but in the end, nothing worked. I think he said he tried like 4 different endings because it changed the movie into a Netflix film, quote, Netflix film where everything is explained, end quote.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what I got from it, whether I was supposed to or not, was they're twisted and they get enjoyment out of seeing the worst fear. And you hear that all the time. You hear that with the Night Stalker. He loved to look the people in the eyes. Remember that? He loved to look people in the eyes right before he was killing them because he loved to see their fear. What worse fear than your child is taken from you to God knows what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely helpless. To me, there's no greater fear than that. Even my own death. I'd rather be killed 100 times over than have anything happen to my children. Totally. And so that is like, that's scary. I think that's all you need. That's the motivation. Why? I mean, we do that though. Dahmer, Night Stalker, any true crime thing. What is the thing? Why? Yeah, we want to know the why. And guess what? Some people they just want to do it.
Like, yeah, we just don't know. We just don't know. That's what's scary about it. And I think, you know, not to even mention the power that you have over somebody, especially something like this where you're exerting this power over somebody who literally like loses the will to live. that is probably a fucking crazy place to be mentally, right? And I could see how some people might want to chase that feeling, like just for the sole reason of being in control of somebody and being able to manipulate them to that level where you let something fucking awful happen to your child. Like that alone, I think is enough. They don't need to spell it out.
No.
So I agree. I felt the same way because at first I was like, when everything's kind of being revealed and you're like, oh, you see all these pictures and, oh, they cut his tongue out. Because in the beginning, they're like, oh, he was born without a tongue. So you're like, sure, it sounds like there's some medical thing happening. But then you start to realize, oh, that's not what happened. And these people did this and they've done this like to many families. I immediately started asking, why? What do they get out of it? Or do they take their money? Why the kid? Like, I don't get it. Blah, blah, blah. But then by the end of the movie, I was like totally on board. I was like, exactly what you're saying. Sometimes you don't need to know. Like, I mean, we want to know. That's the point, is because we are not people who would do that crime. And so it's unfathomable to us and we want to know, but we can't. And that's what's fucking scary. You know what I mean? Like, that's this terror of it all.
I don't even think they liked the kids. They didn't like I think it was fully about the parents controlling them and the amount of fear and helplessness they were going to make them feel.
And probably looking on the up and up, right? Like, you have a kid, you're probably less intimidating than a couple without a kid, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you lure in another kid.
And
so
look
you have
at
kid for that kid to play with.
Look at how many families
went
there. How easy it was for them. Family after family. Then it made me think back of when the little boy opened his mouth. And so that was so creepy. I was scared of the little boy.
Me
just
too.
like the dad was. Just like the dad was creeped out by him. So was I. I got under the covers more. That little boy was trying to communicate what had happened to him.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad. He had no way out.
Yeah.
He had no way out.
And I started to wonder too, why doesn't he write something down? Why doesn't he? But we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Like, those people probably threatened the shit out of that kid. Like, you better not say anything. Cutting out the tongue helps so that you can't speak. But, like, even writing stuff out or like signaling to somebody that you need help, I bet those parents, quote unquote parents, behind the scenes are constantly being like, if you say anything or do anything, like, I'm going to kill you, or just, something bad's going to happen. Or she doesn't even know that her parents are dead. We have your parents. I'll kill your parents. You know what I mean? Like, they probably are manipulating the shit out of the children too. So that was another problem that I kind of had. But then I was immediately like, I could see it.
Yeah, I think you could totally dispel that, because think about, we don't know what has happened. Maybe he has tried in the past.
Yeah.
To signal and something bad happened. Because think about, what do they call it? Stockholm syndrome? The one where So you have people that have been held captive, and just because of the trauma and the brainwashing, they go out in public with this person and never alert authorities.
Yeah, and they feel like compassion or some level of connection to their captors. Yeah, exactly.
So, especially with the young kid.
Child, you easily manipulated,
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know because I was trying to think of it myself, if I don't like it, I like being scared. But I also know I never want to watch any movie like you had talked about, like the Siberian film. Is that what it's called? Whatever.
Serbian film.
Serbian. Siberia. Sorry, Siberia. I'm just kidding. There's certain things that would terrify me but they terrify me on a different level, like sick to my stomach. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy, because my children being stolen and tortured is such a, like, my worst fear, that I don't think I would enjoy watching that. Versus other things that are fears, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I should really say, wow, this was great because it took my fear and really made me feel it. It
Yeah.
made on a huge level.
I don't think you have to like it for that reason, but I think that you can give it props for being an effective horror movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I don't have kids, so I don't know, like, I don't know what that movie might be for me, but like, I know what you're saying. There's some things that I watch that I'm like, that was too uncomfortable, but I can appreciate it. For me, this one was a fucking home run because I was like, this is just like, so it really stuck with me in a way that other movies don't usually. And it is very disturbing and awful, but it felt, I don't know, it just was like different. I liked it for that reason. So I totally hear what you're saying. And I don't think that you have to feel like you have to like it because it scared you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want to watch it again. And I think this would be a movie where if people are like, oh man, have you heard of this movie? I really want to watch it. My whole thing, if I had visitors, right? And they wanted to watch something, even if I wasn't a huge fan, would I watch it versus would I not? And if they're like, oh, speak no evil, I'd be like, that's cool. I'm going to bed if you're watching that. We could watch something else. Yeah. We could watch Inside. Like we can watch something else, but I don't want to see this movie again. And I'm not going to recommend it to anybody. But but it's weird because I do think that it was good.
Yeah, it was an effective horror movie.
It was. Yes, it was.
And I think sometimes that's a little difficult to find, especially for things that you are specifically scared of. You know what I mean? Like, not you, but all of us. Like we all have our very own, very specific thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that is the worst fear, not being able to protect your child because they're looking at you that you're going to protect them.
Yeah.
And how dare you, all of us, put, I don't want to offend these strangers or even people who aren't strangers. I don't want to offend these adult peers so much so that you put your child's life in danger.
Yeah, yeah. But damn, like that was the point.
Shit.
And it fucking...
I'm telling you, Tawny. And when this was over, I was laying there trying to go to sleep, but my heart was like racing.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to say, guess what, Tawny's mom? I found a movie that I disliked more than Otis. But it's a hard one because,
you got to give it props. I feel like you have to give it up for like...
it wouldn't be fair if I didn't.
The fear factor of this movie. And I'm kind of sorry now that I said all that I made you watch this. I'm like, you know what would scare the shit out of Felicia? This movie. You should watch this.
Yeah, it did. It did. Oh, God. I looked at my daughter and said, if they cut her fucking tongue out, I'm going to be so fucking pissed. I'm going to give this movie a 0. And then 2 minutes later, they cut her tongue out.
I hope I've talked you up from a 0.
Yes, you have talked me up from a 0 for sure. I was going to give it the first 0. I told everybody. I told Steve. I told everybody. I'm giving this movie a 0. My first 0. But that's not fair. That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, now you got to go back and tell everybody it's a satire, okay? You got to explain to them a satire. You got to tell them what the point of the movie was, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
I'm not going to say satire, though. I'm not sold on that. But I do like the Greek drama, tragedy sort of play element to it. Because if you think about, Greek tragedies or even Shakespeare or anything like that, there are these elements of unbelievability, but it's just a part of the story.
Right. I also don't think that you have to take satire as funny. Like, the thing that I read to you earlier, the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule. So, in my opinion, this is exaggeration.
Yeah.
Right? This is
so if they were the way exaggeratingly not fighting enough like a normal parent would.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and that's what's the criticism of people. And so I'm just saying I don't think it has to be funny to be a satire in any way. Okay, let's rate this bad boy. Okay, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I could go first. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So I think I am going to give this movie a 2. And the reason is it's so hard because some of the other movies I gave definitely wasn't going to be a 3 because I don't like the way the movie made me feel, I guess. It just really impacted me at the end as far as everything that happened. I really hated it, even though I like what you brought to the table. I was literally going to give it a 0, no joke. I was ready
that's
for
a major 2 points.
Yeah.
2 point increase. I will take it.
And when I look at other movies that I've rated from 2 to 3, it was definitely, so this is really hard to say, but it was definitely better quality, way better acting, way better movie. Right. So I feel like shitty to give it a 2, but I think it's just like the way it left me, how I felt. I felt like I hated it, and you brought a lot to the table that helped boost it up. But I just didn't like the way it made me feel. And I feel kind of crummy giving it such a low score because people see, oh, you must have just really hated that movie. And I did. I'd never watch it again. But it wasn't because it was bad.
Yeah.
It just didn't like the way it made me feel at the end of the day.
This is groundbreaking. I just want to say, this is the first time that I remember that we've reviewed and talked about a movie that was scary that you are going to rate so low because of how scary it is.
I know, that's terrible. I feel like that's not okay.
No, I mean, whatever your score is, it's your score. But I'm just saying, I feel like that is almost a an interesting thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying this movie is impactful. It is, it's, what's the word? Potent. It's like a potent ass fucking movie. And to me, that makes it a fantastic movie. And why my rating is going to be so much higher than yours. But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your rating or that you should change it. But I don't think either one of us have been in that situation yet where it's this made me feel so bad actually that I went the other way. Yeah. Normally we're fucking fans of disturbing. We can handle gory, disturbing, fucking, I feel like you can kind of throw anything at us, And I think this is the first time that something has been so, you know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I love that you're bringing this up because it's so curious, and I am having struggles with it as well. I'm saying it was so upsetting to me. It was so disturbing to me and so upsetting that I actually didn't like the experience.
Right.
And so I'm rating it lower based on the experience. And the extra points were because it was beautifully filmed and really wonderfully acted. And there's lots of great stuff about it. But the experience is so overwhelming. Yes. Yeah, I think that's curious. And I don't even understand myself right now.
I'm jealous of that. I want to feel that way about a movie. Do you know what I mean? Yes. I am jealous of that feeling because I don't know that I've felt that way. Maybe someday. Someday. We'll hit that.
I don't know if we have to venture into things we don't want to watch in order for you to feel that way.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to like you said, I have no desire to watch a Serbian film. I've heard people talk about it and it's just, people are this isn't even artistically worth the time, to watch it. But I like things that mean something and have an idea, this wasn't total just bullshit, yeah. Okay, so for that reason, I'm going to give this a 4.
Nice.
Because
that's a deserving score.
I kind of question even now, should I have gone higher? But I don't know. I had some frustrations watching it the first time also. And I also think that we didn't get into it, but I did try to research a little bit of the biblical part of this movie. And the director basically said, like, they didn't initially think about those references in an intellectual way. He said it was more about getting the puzzle together and, like, what universe are you operating in? So I kind of like, that kind of made me dislike it more. That I was like, oh, you didn't, like, really think through that piece of things. You just kind of, it just kind of, like, fit. And you were just like, sure, we'll go with it, right? So that made me, I feel like this guy almost kind of stumbled into some of this, you know, like, which is what makes me not want to give it a higher score, if that makes sense. Like, it was, they set out to make, like, a shocking, disturbing movie. And I think that the movie has a really good theme. And I feel like you're saying, it's well acted, it's well shot. Like, the quality of the movie is really, really good. Fucking, you better hope it is for that level of return, okay? Or $370,000. But I just, like, I think it's so effective. It's such an effective, it really has stuck with me. And I like it for that reason. It's disturbing. But I also don't have kids, so I don't know. Maybe I'd have a different experience watching this if I was a parent. Like you, where you're like, this is, like, too uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not fighting hard enough. You're not doing this. You know, at the end when they were getting stoned to death, I was really trying to grasp at something that would make me like this more. I was really trying to do that. And so I thought to myself, is there a deeper meaning that I'm not seeing? Though it's not surface level, this family has this situation. There's something else here. They're getting stoned to death. Okay, is this biblical? Cast the first stone, right? He who's without sin, cast the first stone. Is there something here, there? And I was trying really hard to put those pieces together so that, because I did recognize that it was a good movie overall, to try to change my feelings around, but I couldn't.
Well, it's because there's really nothing there. Like, it really kind of starts to fall apart as soon as you look at it, right? Like, it's like, he who cast the first stone, that person is not without sin, obviously, because they're fucking serial killers. So, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know anything about, like, the Bible or anything, but I'm just saying that I know Cain and Abel are brothers, okay? And Abel doesn't have a brother. Like, I don't know, like, in this movie, at least, that we, like, even get into. Maybe he did before, but whatever. We don't get into any of that. Like, speak no evil, that only applies because they're cutting their tongues out. Like, it's just, like, it falls apart as soon as you start poking at it, the biblical references, and that feels cheap to me. So, like, I'm not a huge fan of that, you know?
Yeah.
I liked it until I tried to do the research, and I also looked up, like, stoning, because I was like, oh, is being stoned a punishment for, like, a very specific thing that maybe we can kind of, like, go and follow the trail of? No, stoning, anything. You could be stoned for fucking anything, it looks like, just in my 20 seconds of research online. It's just like, okay, well, that didn't make sense. You know, just, okay, whatever. Anyway.
Because think about it, why didn't they run? Yeah. They literally just went and laid down and allowed themselves to be stoned to death, which was gruesome. But you think about it, there's two people throwing rocks at you, and it's not like they had guns pointed at you, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. You
can get a stone thrown at you and not necessarily, like, there's just seems like you could run. You're also very far away from them. They're at the top of this quarry. And how about you just go? But no, they just laid down and allowed themselves to get stoned to death. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, zigzag. Just, you know, run away, zigzag. But I do think that the first time you get hit in the head, you're probably fucked.
Yes.
That's the end.
Oh, like, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sucks. So the first one that hit them in the head, I was like, oh, God, no.
Yeah, that was gross.
It's over, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh. Interesting. Okay.
Very interesting.
This was an interesting conversation. And I am sorry. I'm both sorry and not sorry that I made you watch this. Sorry again.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad because I had several days to think, because I watched it pretty early. I thought about it several days. Good thing we didn't record day after. Yeah. And things settled with me. And I like that curiosity of, why am I not rejoicing that something terrified me so much?
Well,
I don't know.
There's different shit for each of us, that we just don't want to watch. And we've talked about this a little bit before. For me, heavy drug use, watching people go down the, drug addiction, like, rabbit hole, I don't like it. It's too uncomfortable for me. So, that's probably it for me. I actually avoid those movies, so I've never really felt that way about a movie,
maybe that's the key then.
Maybe, like you were talking about a Serbian film, like that's not it for me. Like people, like just this like ultra shocking, even Terrifier 2, dude. Everybody was talking about how fucking gory and people were throwing up and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, like I watched it and it's like gory. Yes, there's lots of blood, but like this is just, what you're getting into. This is over the top shit. This is not like, none of it made me cringe or sick to my stomach. Like, I don't know. That's my 20-second review of Terrifier 2, but I'm like, I watch other shit that I'm like, oh God, I don't know.
So
it's
your
just
thing is
shit.
that the drug use and the spiraling. So you probably did not like, or maybe you haven't seen the movie I talked about earlier, Requiem for a Dream.
I did watch that finally after avoiding it for a very long time, but I think it got overhyped for me. So I was like prepared to be totally destroyed as a person, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't enjoyable. I don't know if I'd watch it again,
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Something in the vein of that. I watched some movie a long time ago. I'm sure I've talked about this in the podcast before. I just don't remember when. But there was some movie about like a couple getting addicted to like
Rush?
Drugs. I think it was heroin. I have no idea.
Ooh, there's a couple that came to my mind.
It was like, I think it was like it wasn't a well-known movie.
Was it Heath Ledger? Was it Candy? Anyway.
Maybe. I'll have to look that one up because I kind of Heath Ledger in my head. Maybe it was that. Okay, yeah, I don't remember like anything specific about this movie other than the fact that this made me feel so fucking bad. I just I couldn't handle it. I had to and it like the feeling has stuck with me my whole life, but I tried to block out, I think, the entire movie itself. I was like, yeah, like this is the shit that for me is like, I can't. That's why I've also never watched Trainspotting,
Oh, yeah.
I just can't. I don't like it. I don't know. I love this kind of shit that you can distill down into this like very, like I keep saying potent. That's the only word I can think of. But this very tiny potent, because this is not a complex story. It's very simple. We spend a long time just getting to the one thing. But like that is what the fear is,
Yes. Yes, you're right. Because even thinking about, say, Mystic River, which is also a parent's worst nightmare, there was no power of the parent. The kids were out playing when I'm not giving anything away, when the kid was kidnapped. That the parents are doing their thing. The kids are out playing, like kids play. And so as a parent, now you can think, hey, look out for this, this, and this. Don't talk to shit. Don't do this. Don't do this. And so you feel like you can at least give them a little power. So maybe it won't happen to your child. Yeah. This woman had her child in her lap. And was holding her and was powerless. That is terrifying. Like whenever I think of, I had nightmares for so long about if, like after watching war movies and stuff. So say like watching things about the Holocaust, the SS is coming through to all the different homes. And here you are with your children. And I've had these dreams where you put them in a closet and like literally cross your fingers that they're going to make it. Because there's nowhere else to go. And then you get taken. And there's nowhere else to go but hope that they were able to find a way out. That is my worst fucking fear. More than fucking spiders that I don't like.
Right, exactly.
Or anything else that I could say. Or serial killers, which are also scary. But, like this very specific thing, I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah, totally. We found it. We found the line, dude.
We found the line.
Wow.
This was amazing.
Well, we're going to feel fucking awful next week also.
Yes. On a different level offer, though. It didn't, except that one scene, which is, we're going to feel pretty awful.
It's going to be bad.
We're going to have company, though.
Yes, yeah. That might be helpful, maybe.
So we are
with
going
the
to
comedy.
Yeah, so we're going to have.
He's gonna bring the comedy.
We're going to have comedian Tony Neville from Hey Tony TV. You can find him on Instagram, TikTok. Super funny, absolutely amazing. He picked Hereditary. And the cool thing, this is like the first time we've ever done this. We usually do not do the same movie again on our show. Or not that we don't do that. I shouldn't say that. We haven't.
Right.
We've done movies we reviewed on our show on other podcasts, but never on ours. But he really wanted to see that movie and talk about it with us. And we thought, oh my gosh, Hereditary is the first movie Tawny and I ever reviewed. So me and Tawny got together. She's like, hey, have you seen this? I was like, no. And I sat down to watch that with Steve. And I think when Steve watched that, he second guessed our whole plan on doing a horror podcast because it was so disturbing. But we're going to have him on next week to talk about Hereditary.
Yes. Yeah, that'll be super fun. And I also didn't watch the movie again. I've only seen the movie once. It's one of my favorites of all time. It's one of the scariest I think that's come out in the last decade plus. And I could not bring myself to watch it again for our first episode. So I am actually going to watch it, y'all, again.
Nice. And
we're going to do it. So.
Yeah, that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
No pressure, Tony, but hoping you bring a little comedy to it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We're going to need it. We're going to need it. Yeah.
We might just get dark and disturbed, but.
So we like that too.
Yeah, that's exactly. Awesome. Okay. Well, you can follow us. Thank you for being with us for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at 2chicksandahorrorflick, or you can go to 2chicksandahorrorflick.com, and that will lead you to anywhere else you want to be, any other social media platform that you prefer. We also can get links to buy merch, really cool merch there, and also join our free horror Discord community where we chat and engage with other horror lovers. It's super fun. And what else, Tawny?
You can support the show by going to our Patreon or giving us a like, review, and subscribe on whatever podcatcher you're listening to us on. But that's it. So we will see you next week, and we hope you have such a good night. No nightmares.